You're listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.
This episode,
we're merging formats in Fab Facts.
It's not easy feeling green in the randomizer.
And fourthly and finally, it's Justin T and Lindsay Lee.
Oh gosh, how confusing. Stay tuned for all that in Pod 172
of the Jerry Lee Anderson Podcast League.
1. Let's get started. Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
The Jerry Anderson Podcast with Jamie Anderson and Richard James.
Pod 172. Now,
172, my favourite.
Yeah, now you forewarned me last week that despite this being a well-established format for the Jerry Anderson Podcast, that you're going to come in and mess it all up.
Well, no, I'm not. I didn't say that at all. I just said, a slight little mix-up might be good. A change is as good as a rest, that sort of thing, for 1 week only.
Okay. Well, I'm Jamie Anderson, and
we won't change that.
That person who's trying to mess up the format is Richard James.
Yes, and we won't change that either.
This is the Jerry Anderson Podcast,
which will remain the Jerry Anderson Podcast.
Good. Yep, and now over there, Chris Dale, who is the randomizer, is practicing a routine which I think is a jive by the look of it. I think he's doing the jive.
Oh yes.
Doing those toe flicks and kicks and that.
Oh, he's good. What a mover.
Is that called a pirate step, that thing where he steps back and... It's like a drunken pirate, isn't it, I think?
I don't know. Yeah. Or is he a drunken pirate?
No, I'm pretty sure it's a drive routine.
Oh, right. Okay.
But he's got headphones in, so we don't know what he's dancing to. But Chris, you're looking ace over there.
He is.
Keep up the good work. We look forward to the full routine at some point later on. Perhaps he'll put it on YouTube. Chris will be here later on with his randomizer, hopefully not too out of breath, where he goes through a random Jerry Anderson episode and tells us all about it. But what else can people expect in this unusually formatted Jerry Anderson podcast episode?
Well, I mean, you say that. Look, if you've come along to the Jerry Anderson Podcast expecting to hear the randomizer, well, yes, you will a little later on. If you're expecting to hear Fab Facts, dare I say it, yes, you will any minute now. And if you're expecting to hear some Jerry Anderson news, yeah, you'll get that too, as well as the fourth part of Jamie's interview with Justin and Lindsay Lee. Yes, that's all there. But just for 1 week only. Rather than going over to Twitter and YouTube and reading out some listeners' emails, I went straight to our Facebook group, facebook.com/groups/Podstrons, and said, right, we're recording a podcast. What shall I ask Jamie?
Oh, no.
So, for 1 week only, it's over to the Podstrons who have been commenting in our Facebook group and sending me questions to ask to you as the podcast unfolds.
Okay, well, I sort of look forward to those /dread them because you will have filtered them, which means it could be for better or worse. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? That's right, yeah. I mean, do you want a couple just to get the ball rolling?
As a bit of a warm-up, why not?
Yeah, come on then. Tom Hodden, for example, asks, what do you get if you cross a sheep with a pogo stick? I think he's got slightly the wrong end of the stick.
I don't know.
Well, it's a woolly jumper, isn't it? But actually, he says also, how is Mummy A doing?
Mummy A is very well, and she's been back out dog showing.
Good.
And she's very happy with how things are going.
Great.
She's looking forward to some stuff next year, which we'll be talking about very soon.
Yes.
If not talking about already. So, yes, she's very well. Thank you for asking.
And, of course, listeners can still listen, I think, to her 3-part interview that you conducted with Mummy A back in Pods. What? I don't know. Where was that?
Well, it feels like ages ago.
It does,
60, 70,
yeah,
80,
it was a brand about that, wasn't it? And finally, Tom asks, quite seriously, how is work progressing on First Action Bureau? And when will there finally be some news about it? And, if there is, will that warrant a special Fab Live?
Oh, it probably will do. Actually, we should do a Fab Live for Thunderbird's Day. So First Action Bureau is about 80% written, but I had to hit pause on the script writing because other stuff has just taken over and we've got so busy, some of which will be talked about very, very soon.
Okay.
So I'm hoping we'll get to record it at the end of this year. Patterson Joseph was off doing a project. Then Sasha was off doing a project.
Yeah.
You know, So, I sort of might have given away that Patterson will be involved in the next one, but
yes.
that's okay,
Curses.
because we know that, from the first one, well, if you know, you know. If you haven't listened, then this means nothing to you. Yes,
true.
our stars are very, very busy on TV projects and film projects, so having to find a window to do that. So just waiting for the stars to align. But it's happening, because it's mostly written, and Nick and I have had a great time writing it. So more on First Action Bureau soon, and I'm sure it'll be worth doing a Fab Live for it.
Oh, great. Look forward to that. There you go. So, more questions later, Jamie.
Oh, good. Okay. I can't wait. See, I thought this was going to be a short one compared to last week, but look what's happening already.
Yes.
Well, let's move on. Let's get into Fab Facts, because it's my turn to do Fab Facts again this week, and I'm really looking forward to getting back in the saddle.
I'm sure you are.
Here we go.
Now, time for this week's Fab Facts.
Now feeling refreshed and revived after my rest last week, it's Fab Facts, where I've got a book of Fab Facts. Here it is. And I'm going to flick through it. Richard's going to shout Fab, which will stop me flicking at a random point. And from the page where I stop, I'll read you a Fab Fact. Hopefully you'll agree that it's Fab.
Oh.
Richard probably won't. Richard James, are you ready with your Fab?
Surprise me.
Oh, well, isn't it up to you to surprise me?
Oh, yeah, all right. I'm ready.
Yeah, okay, here we go.
Fab!
Interesting.
What have I done?
Well, you know that there's some Blu-rays coming out.
Oh,
In
yes.
due course. Well, this particular Fab Fact concerns a series that hopefully by the time this pod goes live will probably have been or is just about to be released on Blu-ray.
Right.
In fact, I'm pretty sure it will have been. You should have your copy if you've pre-ordered it. And that series is, of course, Supercar.
Supercar!
It's the first production to sport the legendary words, filmed in Super Marionation. Which is kind of how I hear them being said when I read them.
Yeah.
Richard, did you know that Supercar is basically two different shows combined into one?
Well, now, if I said yes, is that the end of this week's Fab Fact?
Yes. And that's the... No. Look, the whole point is it's done smoothly enough that you wouldn't really spot the join.
I did not know that.
Well, let me tell you. The first of these was, yes, you've guessed it, Supercar, as devised by Dad and Reg Hill.
Yes.
This would star Supercar test pilot Mike Mercury, Kiddy's sidekick Jimmy Gibson, and his pet monkey Mitch, and the adventures they'd have while putting the amazing Supercar through its paces.
Right.
Now, fans of the show may have noticed that in that quick description there, a key character was missing from that outline. The ever-popular Dr. Beaker.
Dr. Beaker, yes.
Well, that's because Dad and Reg did not devise Dr. Beaker.
Oh.
Dr. Beaker was not only created by someone else, but was originally created for a different show entirely. Beaker was instead the creation of Four Feather Falls writer Hugh Woodhouse, who had devised a series named Beaker's Bureau during his time at the BBC. That series revolved around eccentric scientist Dr. Beaker foiling the evil machinations of diabolical bad guys and also absent-mindedly getting himself into trouble thanks to his latest hobby or interest.
Great.
Hugh would himself later admit the idea was basically a homage to Professor Brainstorm. But unfortunately, the BBC weren't interested in the show, and so Hugh suggested it to Dad and Reg during a meeting near the end of production on Four Feather Falls. Rather than produce Beaker's Bureau itself, they decided to incorporate Beaker into the Supercar idea. And by the time the show was pitched to Lou Grade, Beaker was now a firmly established part of the Supercar format. Once the series was commissioned, Hugh Woodhouse and his brother Martin then wrote the bulk of the episodes of the first season, which means that they also created the show's regular villains, Master Spy and Zarin, and also Harper and Judd.
Great.
So the Supercar concept that you see on screen is really a clever melding of Dad and Reg's original concept for Supercar and the Woodhouse's concept for Beaker's Bureau, seamlessly blended into one show.
I see.
Now, obviously, we'll never really know what Supercar would have been like if they'd stuck to Dad and Reg's original concept of just a show that was Mike, Jimmy and Mitch. Although, given that there are 2 or 3 stories which follow just those 3 characters, and they're not among the show's greatest episodes, we were probably rather lucky that Hugh and Martin Woodhouse added lots of their own ideas and characters to the show. Beaker being so unpredictable made the format a lot more fun, as you know, and adding antagonists like Master Spy and Zarin gave the series opportunities for drama and threat, which really you want to have in an action show like Supercar. Although, oddly, when discussing the origins of Supercar and who created what character and so on, no one ever seems to take any credit for poor old Professor Popkiss.
Yeah, it wasn't me. What? No, it wasn't me. Nothing to do with me.
Why would no one take credit for the prof?
That's sweet, isn't it?
Yeah, but isn't
Poor
that
old
nice?
Popkiss.
That does happen where, someone recycles or reuses a character or an idea, a concept from one thing and then moves it across to another one.
Absolutely. What I find interesting about that, though, is that in an alternate universe, we could be talking about Jerry Anderson's
Beaker's Bureau.
Beaker's Bureau, couldn't we?
Yeah.
As a TV, I can absolutely see that as a thing. That's extraordinary.
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Or Popkiss's, what's something alliterative?
Perfunctory.
Playground?
Yes.
Yeah,
that. I would like
Great.
to see.
Good. Maybe somewhere in the archive is a treatment of that. Probably not.
Yeah, maybe there is. Yeah.
But where do you think Professor Popkiss came from, Podsteron? Do you think it was part of the original Dad and Reg idea, or do you think it came from the Woodhouses? Do we know? Does anyone have any insights? Do let us know.
Yeah.
Podcast at jerryanderson.com. There you go.
Like
Anything
it.
that you know that was borrowed for Space Precinct that came from elsewhere?
Oh, well, I mean, there's all sorts of things. I mean, when I was adapting 5 Star 5 from the script, of course, there's a character called Sumara who does the sort of psychic karate,
Yes.
as Houdini does in an episode called Two Against the Rock on Space
Yes.
Precinct. Also, there's a very well-trodden idea of some kind of psychic or telekinetic character being able to lift a weapon from the floor and fire it.
Yeah.
And that seems to be a bit of a recurring theme as well. Amongst the various lost Jerry Anderson scripts that I've read. So, yeah, interesting how they, he very often picked an idea and ran with it, which is quite nice, I think.
Yeah. Well, a good idea is worth using, isn't it?
Of course
So
it
you
is.
might as well recycle it if you possibly can.
Yeah. We've been doing it for 171 weeks. So,
And we'll continue to do so with no new thought or imagination or creativity. Anyway, there we go. I think that probably brings us to the end of this week's
Beaker
Fact.
Ah, lovely.
Are we back
I
in
like
sync these
that.
days? It's lovely.
It's very clever. Now, because the Jerry Anderson podcast is really all about the Podsterons,
Totally about them,
lovely
I'd say.
listeners, I've given over the reins to them this week. Popped over to their Facebook group and asked them if there were any questions that they wanted me to ask you, Jamie. So here we go. Steve Rogers says, is there going to be a 2022 Super Marination calendar? The last 2 have been fabtastic. And also, what's the next audiobook after Stingray?
The next one.
Yeah.
Should I reveal it exclusively?
That's the
I mean, it
thing.
may have already been revealed by the time we say this, possibly.
Yeah.
It's Thunderbird's Peril in Peru.
Okay.
Now
Like it.
that originally was Calling Thunderbirds, but we figured we wanted another kind of dynamic title that would feel like an original story. So Peril in Peru. And the cover may have been revealed, but if not, it'll be revealed very shortly and you'll be able to pre-order it from Thunderbirds Day on the 30th, which is just around the corner.
Great. And a Super Marination calendar for next year?
We've done Super Marination ones in the past, and we tend to get a lot of people going, oh, I only really like Thunderbirds, don't really like the other ones.
I
So
see.
this year, we're probably going to focus on the Thunderbirds one. Maybe next year, if there's enough demand. But it's the combined ones which don't seem to do so well, strangely. So
That
there
is
you
odd,
go.
isn't it? Yeah. James Pilsenwood asks, with the overwhelming success of the limited edition Space 1999 manual, do you think that there's going to be more high-ticket items in the store in the near future? More replica pistols or a Captain Scarlet replica watch, for example?
We've actually recently been discussing replica pistols, so maybe there's a lot of stuff planned over the next 12, 18 months and possibly beyond.
Yeah.
But we do always really like to hear your ideas, so please chuck them in.
Yeah. Lawrence Cox says, as my local Comic Con just happened, if Jamie could cosplay as one Anderson character, who would it be?
I mean, can you imagine a really cool Robert the Robot cosplay?
Oh, yeah, that's great.
I mean, it'd be a bit awkward to move around in, and I don't know how you'd hide the person inside. I suppose they'd probably have to be covered in foil and
but that's
cables and
nice.
stuff. But yeah, I think
like
that'd be
it.
pretty awesome.
My favourite cosplay idea of yours, Jamie, is not Jerry Anderson related. Of course, it's Doctor Who related. Was going to a Doctor Who convention with several rolls of toilet paper and wrapping yourself up to look like the Watcher from Legopolis.
I still
Nice.
desperately want to do that one day.
That's great. Kevin Trott asks, is there the possibility of a Fab Worlds of Anderson next year? Maybe, possibly, please?
Well, it's not up to us. It's up to the Space Centre.
Yeah,
I think now things are
right.
reopening. I'm sure they would love to do it. We had one.
Yeah.
I think there was one talked about for this year, but there was just too much uncertainty around lockdowns and that kind of thing. So I suspect for 2022, then I can't promise it, but I have high hopes.
Yeah, here's hoping. And finally for now, Alex Pass says, I'm loving the new Thunderbirds and Stingray audiobooks. Are there any plans for readings of the books for UFO Space 1999 and Space Precinct, meaning the 1990s Space Precinct books?
A lot of it comes down to rights, so not always possible. We are negotiating with various publishers who seem to have kind of inherited the deals from various authors over the years. Space and UFO are very much on our radar, but can't say any more at this stage.
Yeah. Oh, God, one more. Emma Nichols, Rebecca Andrews, of course, ask, any news on Firestorm?
No, if there was some news, you'd have heard it by now. It's just one of these things where there's a huge amount of waiting involved. There'll be some other news about other things soon.
Exactly. Firestorm isn't the only weapon in the armory. So there'll be news very soon about other stuff that will make you... Yeah,
and I can completely understand why you're asking, but basically, if there's no obvious public news, then there's nothing that I can convey. So, it's very much on my mind, and of course, there's stuff happening in the background all the time, but just not stuff that we can talk about.
Yeah, fair enough. All for now. More questions later.
Okay.
Hooray!
In that case, should we go back to the worlds of Gerry Anderson for some news?
Oh, yes, please.
Gerry Anderson news is here. Yes, it's the Gerry Anderson news. News. But hopefully shorter than last week because it did go on a bit. How about we start with this? Let's start with something from 1612. The Swift is now available for pre-order from the Gerry Anderson store.
Oh, yes.
I'm not so keen on the Swift, I have to say. That's not very good marketing, is it? Never mind, it's honest. But lots of people love it, and it's coming in March next year from 1612, who do lovely stuff, as you all know. It's available for pre-order now. We've got a very small allocation of the total number of units because they're expected to be quite popular. So if you want to grab one, then go over to the Gerry Anderson store. Well, whenever you like, really.
Great stuff.
Still on Space 1999. If you pre-ordered the Moonbase Alpha Technical Manual, well, first of all, thank you very much indeed. What an amazing launch we had. It's been incredibly successful. We're really happy, and it puts us in good stead to do more. We've had a lot of requests for a UFO Shadow Manual, for example. More on that soon. If you've pre-ordered by the time of release of Pod 172, then chances are you will have made it into our first print run. But the first print run has sold out, even though we kind of went quite high on that first run, which is amazing.
Wow.
If you order from today onwards, you will probably receive your book a week or two later than everyone else, because we're doing a second print run very shortly afterwards. But just because of how busy the printing industry is and paper shortages and all sorts of other stuff, it'll be slightly later. So if you pre-ordered before today, then you'll get your copy at the end of November, very early December. If you order from today onwards, then it'll be kind of early mid-December, I would imagine, somewhere around there. We expect that second run might sell out too. So if you're keen on getting it, do pre-order in for us. It will be very helpful in terms of managing stock and expectation and making sure you get it before Christmas.
Oh, that's exciting.
Off of Space 1999 and on to Thunderbirds. Well, Thursday this week, the 30th of September, is Thunderbirds Day. Woohoo! Yes. Started several years ago, mostly I think as a sort of promotional thing for ITV's animated series. We're very keen to keep it going, and so we will. So this Thursday, probably most exciting for Podsterons, I would think, is that Richard, yes, you've already agreed to it.
Yeah, look forward to it.
Richard and I will be doing a Fab Live, a very special Thunderbirds Day edition of Fab Live from 7 p.m. BST across all the usual platforms, YouTube and Twitch and Twitter and Facebook and all those places. It should be scheduled by now, so you should be able to find it on YouTube or wherever and click Remind Me About This. We'll be talking you through all sorts of stuff, celebrating Thunderbirds Day, talking about exciting things about... Tech Talk Series 3, for example, which will have an episode premiering on Thursday. A free audio story for you all, which will be coming out then too. Some cool Thunderbirds Day products, which I think you'll rather like.
Lovely.
And something very special indeed, which might possibly be connected to the 16th of April next year, which I may already have teased, but I can't really say any more at this stage.
Oh.
Anyway, we've had plenty of news recently. There's some other stuff happening on Thursday, so do keep an ear out this Thunderbirds Day. Tweet us with the hashtag Thunderbirds Day, and we look forward to hearing what you think about the exciting announcements you will hear this coming Thursday. But I think, really, for now, that's the end of this week's Gerry Anderson News.
That was the news. Slightly shorter news.
Yes, well, thank goodness for that, because we all needed a break from so much news.
Yeah. I mean, I say slightly shorter. There's still plenty going on.
Oh,
isn't
yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Almost too much.
Almost. You could never have too much Gerry Anderson stuff going on. Come on. Yeah. So, now, just a little reminder. You are, of course, listening to the Gerry Anderson podcast. Please.
Oh, I wonder what we're doing.
Please subscribe to us on whichever platform you're listening to us on, or like us, or favourite us, or follow us, or whatever you do on your platform of choice. Leave us a review and a rating, because they really do help tell the world what you think of us, and also let your friends know too, so they can join in. Now, back to the mailbag, courtesy of our Facebook group. Are you ready for more questions, Jamie? Right.
Born ready, probably, is what you would say, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Duncan Wilson says, I loved Series 2 of Space 1999 as a small kid. Yeah. It's nowhere near as good as Series 1, but it's still great, campy space fun.
Yes.
What aspects do you enjoy about the Gerry Anderson shows you're not that fond of overall? Oh, that's a tricky one. Pick a show you don't like and tell us what you like about it.
Well, I mean, I've said before, Joe 90, I actually quite like International Concerto as an episode, because it's a cool idea and it's beautifully done, beautifully made.
Yep.
Oh gosh, I mean, because most of the others, there's things I kind of quite like about them. The Protectors.
Yeah.
I like the dog. Robert Vaughan's dog,
yes, of course
because I've got one
yes.
that's very much like it, Eric.
Yeah. Nice.
How's that? Is there anything else required? I mean, most of the other ones I kind of like. So
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Ian Stevens asks, any plans to release a rescue eagle and or a freighter eagle by Eagle Moss?
Well, the best thing to do is email us, and we can forward emails to Eagle Moss and say, hey, you should do this, because people want them, because they are interested in fan input into what should come next. So if you've got ideas, email them, podcast@gerryanderson.com, and we will endeavour to pass them on and collate ideas and sway the decision makers where we can.
Great. A slightly similar question to earlier. This is from Rob Doyle, who says, any chance the Space 1999 books can be re-released, especially the ones by Powys Media?
See, I thought Powys was still selling theirs.
Okay.
So I don't know what the state of play is there. We'll try and find out and see what we can do.
Heather Ballard has noticed that you've been to Pinewood Studios rather a lot recently.
Yeah, I have. You're right. It's funny that, isn't it?
She said, she asks, did you celebrate Breakaway Day at Pinewood with Joe 90? Never mind. She says, we've been doing polls on characters, and I wonder, who's your favourite Terrorhawks villain?
Ooh, that's really tough. There's some very cool ones.
Yes.
Obviously, my love of Doctor Who crosses over to Lord Tempo. So, a master of time.
Yes.
I think the Time Lord Tempo is probably my favourite.
Great. And finally, for now, Simon Allen asks, how do the Skydiver crew manage to stand up all the time, as there's only one seated position and no other chairs?
Years of expert training for balance.
There we are. More questions later on from our lovely Podstrons.
Goodness me.
Simon Allen.
Oh. That's totally fair. Okay, well, I look forward to that. Shall we get some outsiders in for a bit?
Yeah, go on. Just, freshen things up a bit.
Okay, fine. Well, you say freshen things up. This is the 4th week that they've been here.
Yes.
It's Justin and Lindsay Lee, our lovely puppeteer, maker, writer, voice artist, and all-round lovely people friends.
They're really making themselves at home, aren't they?
They are, but don't worry, they're off this week. Well, I say don't worry, you might worry. No, they're going to round up today with their general thoughts on all things puppets. Tell you about Meekshi, their new series, which you can access outside of Canada. You can access for free on YouTube, I think, from now. It's really, really lovely and charming, and a great way to get the kids into the world of puppetry and practical effects. I'm sure they're going to love it. But for now, let's hand over to Justin and Lindsay for part 4 of their interview with me. Here it is. Were you happy overall with the fan reaction? Because part of this process is you should do it because you want to do it and you're going to be happy. Because of the external pressure of fandom on it, that must have been a bit of a concern. So how was the reaction and how did you feel about it?
I think I mean, because it was so positive.
It was so positive, and some of the best compliments I think we received was when fans would go, did you shoot that, or was that the original?
Right.
Yes,
they wouldn't be able to tell.
Yeah.
So that was a big reward, and
some people thought we reshot the titles. We were like, we didn't, and that was cool. Like it just like and again, I do acknowledge the fact that the way we interact with this material is so much more. I don't know, like it's so in our own heads now because we've seen it with such like a forensic lens, so we can't not tell which is which.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a single shot in there that if I watched it today, I'd be like, oh, I can't tell if that's ours or not. But I'm glad that because other people weren't on set with us, other people haven't studied it with the kind of forensics we did, they can't do that. Which is great. Because we want people to be able to watch them and just buy into all of it.
And it was actually quite nice on some of the days when some of the Kickstarter backers would visit the studio and just seeing their reaction to just the production and, wanting to know about how we built the sets and how the puppets work. And just it kind of it's always nice to make something where that people are going to actually appreciate it. I'm not saying that, projects, projects that sustain you financially are not rewarding as well, but I think it's like something about this product that, especially in the UK, because we don't have this in Canada, not a lot of people in Canada know Thunderbirds as definitely not as intimately as people in the UK, and so I think being there in an atmosphere where like people genuinely wanted these episodes to be made. It's part of pop culture.
Like literally, anywhere we go, if people asked us, "Why are you buying this thing?" or whatever, there was one hobby store that Stephen and I went to. Jamie, did I tell you the story about the employee?
Was it the one on the Windsor Road?
I don't remember where the hobby store was, but we went there to get some paint, and Stephen and I went in, and the guy at the counter was like an 18, 17-year-old. He was like a kid, right? And I think he asked us what this was for, and we said, we were making new episodes of Thunderbirds around the block or whatever, and he was like, oh, okay. And I thought, he must be too young, he's not that interested or whatever. And whatever, which is fine, right? He rang us up and we left, and as we were walking back to the car in the car park, he chased after us and said, do you think I could just come by to see what you're doing? Maybe I could help out a little bit. I was like, okay, this is, and that kind of stuff, I remember that stuff happening all over the place, where if people saw the puppets, if people knew we were doing that, they got really excited. And that was young people, old people. My greatest memory of the backers coming was that somebody's kid came, and it was a little boy, and he seemed really excited to be there. And I thought about what it would have been if little me, 8-year-old, 6-year-old me, had been able to go to AP Films as a kid. What would I have wanted to do? I would have wanted to hold Thunderbird 1. So I gave this kid the big model we had and said, here, hold this. You can hold this for a second. We'll get a picture of you. And it was just a cool thing to say, you can touch this stuff.
It's making people happy.
Yeah.
It's lovely. Yeah. Really lovely. And so nice that it crossed the generations. So I'm sure listeners will be annoyed with me for leaving Thunderbirds behind, but we have to at some point. So you leave from doing the Thunderbirds anniversary episodes, TV65, whatever you want to call it. And then that hasn't been an experience that's put you off puppetry in any way. You didn't find it too stressful or frustrating. You are, in fact, forging your own path with all things puppetry. My first question is, why?
What's wrong with
it? Because as we all know, I would say the prevailing view in the television or the content industry, the streaming industry from commissioners is actually fairly anti-puppet. So it's a difficult place to go. So you are instantly kind of making a rod for your own backs and making your lives difficult and going into this with one leg tied behind your head. So why puppets? Why now?
Well, we've talked about this a lot because currently, so we have a show, a new series coming out on the 20th of September called Meekshi, and that is a series starring puppets and model miniatures.
Hand puppets.
Yeah,
they're animal characters.
So, and I think
that was heavily influenced by Thunderbirds and Stingray, and we'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that, but in terms of the why, we talk about it's as oh, this is so pretentious, as artists, how we want to spend our lives, you know,
That's
and
what
do
it's
we
about.
do we
Yeah.
want to spend our lives in front of a computer? And I mean, sure, I mean, and that stuff, and we're definitely not, you know,
Anti-CG.
Anti-CG at all.
Like, just to be clear,
It's-
I do CG professionally, and like I'm a digital VFX artist, so like that stuff's all very familiar to me.
but the
and
experience,
what you can do with it and all that stuff. Yeah.
But the experience we had on TV65 was a very tangible, very
Communal.
hands-on, communal
Yeah.
experience, and that is the rewarding part for us as makers. We just wanted to keep doing that. It was just really rewarding to actually be able to make stuff with your hands, and I think, you know, both of us remember very clearly when we were children, just really responding to seeing tangible things, seeing puppets on screen.
Clearly had an effect on me with Thunderbirds because there was a bunch of cartoons on at the time where in cartoons you could do anything. Like cartoons could, you know, if you want a bigger set, just draw it bigger, right? But
and all of my favorite shows were puppet shows.
Right,
Up.
and we had a lot of puppet shows on Canadian TV when we were growing up. Some of which were domestic, and some of which were imported, I suppose you could say.
Yeah,
But-
and we just remember we really responded to it. And yeah, seeing things like, you know, kids visiting the TV65 set.
Yeah.
I go to a puppetry festival every year in Montreal called OOF, and there are lots of kids that come, and just seeing how kids really do respond to tangible things.
Lindsay brought the Thunderbirds puppets last time she was able to go to OOF before COVID-19 lockdown and all that.
Yeah.
And
and just
the kids went crazy for it.
They did. They were fascinated, and that's really inspiring to us.
Like seeing what something can be in real life and seeing what it can represent on screen.
On screen. And I think the thing, you know, we had a kid looking at Lady Penelope, then looking at the clips that was running on screen, and just, you could see the wheels turning in his head, being like, how
That's
is
the
that
same
that?
thing, right? It's like, but how? Yeah.
And that, for us, is sort of the magical thing about tangible filmmaking.
And I think filmmaking that involves a lot of creation. Like something like Star Trek or Star Wars or
world building.
World building, exactly. Like I love, like there's I don't know why this is coming to mind, but you know, we've been watching a lot of Star Trek The Next Generation, and there's bloopers on the Blu-rays. And you can see when, you know, Jonathan Frakes, there's a Thunderbirds connection there, when Jonathan Frakes flubs his line, the camera operator kind of moves the camera over just a little bit, and you can see right off the set of this futuristic Star Trek door is like a plank of wood. And it's just like, that's where the set ends, right? And I love, we're just saying, look here, like this is what we want. And so much of, you know, this does relate to what we're doing now with puppets and miniatures, and relates to us working on Thunderbirds. We always created that stuff for the camera. What does the camera see? You don't have to build the whole thing, you know, just dress it to the camera. So the other thing that's encouraging is that we as puppet people and our puppeteer friends in Canada, people who've worked on things like Fraggle Rock, you know, worked with the Henson Company, they're all busy. We all have work, and puppets seem to be, fingers crossed, I don't know what it's like in the UK, and we always thought the UK was a great haven for puppets, and you know, Japan and parts of Europe, and certainly not North America, because North America certainly has a different attitude about puppets. But right now, puppets here seem to be, fingers crossed, doing okay.
Yeah, animal character puppets seem to be animals, aliens, robots, non-humans seem to be climbing up.
We're under no delusion about our Thunderbirds puppets in North America. Our friends have made it very clear to us, like literally right now as we talk to you, in the other room, Scott, Lady Penelope, and Brains are hanging by their wires in the other room. And when certain friends come over, they are mortified by them, of course, because that's their association with puppets and with marionettes and with certainly humanoid characters.
Yeah, and it's funny because like we don't, for whatever reason, because we're somewhat deranged, we don't have that fear of puppets that a lot of people do here. But I think as we talked about before as well, it's the techniques that we learn in England. You know, as we mentioned, Richard Gregory passing those things on to us, and as you said, Jamie, about keeping that stuff alive.
It's really important.
I do think so. I think that there's a reason why a show like Thunderbirds has lasted throughout all these generations, and you know, I think so much of it has to do with the technique and with the precision and with the attention to detail and all of that goes into producing a show like that. So when we came back to Canada, that was sort of what kicked us off in the first place. Was we want to keep using these skills we learned, because if we don't, we'll lose them.
Yeah,
and we don't want to.
And I think nowadays, especially now that we've gone through. This is how I feel about it. Like the digital tools, the tools that people like George Lucas helped develop that we all started to embrace, which are wonderful. I mean, I just worked on a job where I had to use a lot of CG to do the thing I was doing, which is great. It's a great tool. And like any tool, you use it as you would use it. And we actually did use some CG on Mixi as well. Most of it was done practically, but we did use a little CG. But it's like, what's the right tool for the right thing? So for the stuff we want to make right now, a lot of it is building models, building puppets, shooting it practically, being with a group of people. I don't want to for a second put down digital artists or the way that they work, but I spent 10 odd years working in advertising on and off, doing commercials, doing short films, and even I think effects for features and stuff. And the dynamic in that workplace is everyone puts their headphones on, puts on their own music or podcast or whatever, and just tunnel vision, stares at their computer screen and works on their render.
Kind of lonely.
Yeah. And I'm not saying one way or the other better or worse, but it's a different workflow.
And it's for us, how we want to spend our days.
Because I think you can do it that way, and you can get wonderful results that way. I think the other thing is for the type of budgets that we're working with right now, we can't do CG and make it look 100% photoreal. I mean, that's the job that places like, ILM or the Mill, like these big effects houses, they can do that.
Yeah.
CG doesn't mean easy.
No, and even individual CG artists, really talented ones, and sometimes you see work and you go, oh my God, this person did this all by themselves, but they've done it usually, not always. So there are some crazy talented people out there, but they usually done it over weeks, months, maybe years working on a project, right? So to do something in an economical time frame that also looks photoreal, that looks tangible, we can't do that with CG. So that's why we do it this way. And I think there's, the atmosphere on the Mixi set, when we were shooting our Mixi puppets and vehicles and shooting Mixi's jet taking off off a roof and all this stuff, there was a great sense of community and communal experience. Everyone got to have fun with this together and be enthusiastic about it together and share energy, right? Not to get too mystical here, but like we were literally sharing each other's energy. Yeah, it's
stuff that like I said, you could see on FIS and TV65 that there's just a different dynamic. So, what techniques and stuff will be familiar to viewers of Thunderbirds and Stingray that they might see in Mixi?
Oh yeah, well, I mean, so the puppets, as we said, that will be the biggest difference. I think is the puppets, but I think.
Even though Mixi does have... So Mixi is a shy sheep scientist, we should say that.
But I mean the style of puppet.
She's a shy sheep scientist with glasses that may look familiar to Thunderbirds fans. If you're thinking of Brains when you look at her, we had just made new glasses for Brains, for our Brains puppet. And that was to do some new stuff for Thunderbirds Day several years ago. That was several years ago. Anyway, so we'd already had this experience with making glasses for puppets, and we used the exact same technique to make Mixi's glasses. So that's one Thunderbirds connection. Also, when she launches her jet plane off the roof of her apartment building, the launch sequence is 100 and bajillion % Thunderbirds inspired.
Actually, a lot of our model miniatures, if not all our model miniature work in Mixi was Thunderbirds inspired. So the high speed
did it the same way.
We did it the same way. So we built real so Mixi's jet plane, the Heyu, is a real model that we wired up on tungsten.
With pyrotechnics in the engines.
Yep.
Nice. Shot at what was it, 120 or 96 frames per second. Mm-hmm. The launch ramp that the Heyu comes off of, yes, I will admit this, it's all made of Airfix girder bridge parts, which is exactly...
Of course, what else could you use?
Actually, we used a lot of Airfix girder bridge. We used a lot of Revell kits, little car parts.
Yeah, those chrome bits that they used on Thunderbird. So we had all
they're all.
stuff,
so if you watch me, you should just look around the sets and see if you can spot.
There's tons of Thunderbirds, this stuff all over the place. It's the same parts. And you know what? The Meddings crew in the 60s, they espoused the virtues of the Airfix girder bridge parts specifically because they were like, it adds detail to anything.
And it makes things look mechanical.
Well, guess what? It does.
It does.
So that's why so I found out, I'm so embarrassed to admit this, we interviewed our crew recently, and we interviewed the art department people, I found out they had a game going about when each day I would say the words Airfix girder bridge. Because apparently I was so obsessed with them using it. But we bought a huge box of Airfix girder bridge kit parts, and I was like, just go crazy. Use them everywhere. Use them on props. Use them on sets. Because it's like, detail is such adding detail to a model takes a long time. But if you can just put this stuff on there, so...
Yeah.
What else?
Well, yeah, I mean, and if you look around, so she's a scientist, so she has this table that she stands behind, that science table. It flips over, so it goes from like dining mode to science mode. And that was heavily inspired by X20. His house.
Lemoy Island thing.
Where his carpet flips over and then the radio comes up, right?
Yep.
And, we just thought... And I think, you know what, this can obviously be traced back to your dad. It really can, because I'm going to bet you anything that idea was your dad's idea. Because it's so James Bondy, secret, like mechanical.
It's like there's no reason for the secret. It's just cool.
It's just cool.
It is just cool.
And so we were like, let's put something in Mixi's apartment. She lives in this little apartment where she has a kitchen and a little dining area. And of course, she doesn't have enough room to have her science lab just there all the time. So she has a switch on the wall.
Yeah.
And that switch is the same kind of switch that you can see on the side of the Thunderbird 1 chair. It's the exact same kind of switch.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's the exact one,
got a different end to it, but the base is exactly the same.
Nice.
We bought those. Because, again, we're going for... The Mixi aesthetic is a 1960s...
Of course it is, because it's us.
Yeah, it's us. Meets old school North American farm, meets... Japanese industrial.
Yeah, like high-tech.
Amazing combination.
Yeah, so actually...
the kind of like run down, like that really kind of,
Tokyo.
Tokyo.
If you look at... So I encourage people like to watch Mixi specifically for spotting the Jerry Anderson references, because
I was going to say, you need like a bingo card, don't you, that they can play along with?
Because there's a shot of an establishing shot of the city that Mixi lives in. It's called Mabukiville. So it's a skyline with water in front and a tower.
Buildings.
Bunch
of buildings.
And so the way that we shot that, the way that we constructed the buildings was basically exactly like what they did on Thunderbirds, for any time they had to go to a city. I'm thinking of like Terror in New York City, where there's skyscrapers and things like that. But I'm actually thinking specifically of in Mixi's kitchen. There's a video phone that she uses.
Oh yeah.
That is.
Yeah, we said the word video phone because
we said the word video phone. Yep, but it is very Stingray.
Well,
awesome.
I think to
Very
be honest, if you look at the video phone, and we did this, like, again, we're not sure, we're just really paying homage to this stuff that we just get so excited by seeing. Like, I think the stuff about, the real thing about those shows like Stingray and Thunderbirds and Scarlet, all those shows, is when you watched it on the screen, and this is, again, a testament to your dad, the crew, the team that worked at that time, they got the thing about what's going to grab the audience. It's on TV in black and white. What's going to grab them? If it's a table flipping over, if it's like,
blinking
lights. Oh my God, blinking lights.
That's all over Mixi. All over Mixi.
We have tons and tons of blinking lights on our set, and it's for the same reason. It's like it adds so much energy. If you think about London Tower in Thunderbirds, and it didn't have those blinking lights, it would just be a room. But you've got
lifeless.
Yeah, exactly. It adds so much life.
I think especially when dealing with, and I think, your dad's approach to filming puppets was we want to make these puppets feel as real life as possible. And I think the way, and as we know with puppets, their facial expressions, their movements are so limited. So you have to use
There's so much they can't do.
There's so much they can't do. So our approach, which was what we got inspired from your dad, was bringing them to life using the set and using the production. So using big music,
right? So
using blinking lights,
every tool at your disposal.
Yes.
If they can't walk, put them in a chair that like lifts them into a vehicle, right?
Exactly.
And that's honestly because our puppets are hand puppets. We don't show their legs usually. They're just from the waist up, like the Terrahawks puppets kind of thing. But these are really glove puppets. They are Muppet style puppets. But Mixi, when disaster strikes or she needs to get somewhere really fast, if she needs to go on a mission, as a shy sheep scientist does every now and again. She sits in this old Windsor chair in her kitchen, this old kind of rickety wooden chair, and then a little hydraulic hoist comes up from below, locks into the chair, and lifts her up into the ceiling. And of course, she goes into the cockpit of the Hey-You. And that's because kid me would have loved that, right? Like, you don't need
cool.
you don't need to explain it. You don't need story. It's literally you're watching it and it's cool.
And things like switches, it's because it's cool. And and I think what your dad did a lot too was give puppets things that they can do well. They can pull levers very well. They can push buttons very well. So
I think that's something that your dad and certainly all the directors and puppeteers and people that worked at AP Films and Century 21, they all figured that out. There was like what. And the other thing that's super cool when you watch those shows that we were inspired by as well is especially the Scarlet era where the puppets literally could do nothing. It's amazing when you watch episodes. I'm thinking of some Leo Eaton episodes. I know you talked to him too on the podcast, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. He clearly is. Maybe it's because he came from I'm not singling him up because I think all the directors had moments where they did this, but they would basically make more work for themselves to get the puppet to do something that just would add more life to them, right? Yeah. Whether it was uncrossing a leg or taking off glasses or whatever, but they would do stuff. And sometimes, you'd watch an episode. I swear it was a Leo Eaton episode we saw not too long ago, and I was like, I'm so impressed by these
extra bits of detail.
Yeah, the ambition. So we would do that stuff with Meekshi is anytime we could show her legs or just have a little bit of extra business with her, we would do it if we could.
You've teased so much. It's really important that people know how to find this thing and how to watch Meekshi. So when, where, how?
Yes. So assuming that this podcast airs after September 20th, there's ways to watch it wherever you are in the world. If you happen to be Canadian, tvokids.com. That's tvokids.com. It's streaming on there. You can watch the whole series. And if you're anywhere else on the planet, it's on YouTube, and the easiest way to find it is actually if you go to www.meekshi.com. That's MIIKSHI.com. Once again, MII, that's the most important, KSHI.com. It redirects to the entire series playlist, which is on
a channel called Shaftesbury Kids.
Yeah.
That's our distributor, our production
partner and distributor, Shaftesbury. Who is best known for making a show called Murdoch Mysteries, which I know does air in England. I think it's a co-production with England.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so anyone knows Murdoch Mysteries, that's the people we made it with, was those people. But it's not a murder mystery show set in the 1800s or 1900s or whatever.
It's a different style. And it's going to be something that, is going to appeal to people that know Thunderbirds and maybe a great way to introduce kids or grandkids as an access point to Thunderbirds.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
We hope people will be, excited watching it. And, we tried to put as much action and fun and, when we showed an early clip of it to a bunch of puppet people, it was like at a puppet conference. One of the puppeteers there who got his start working on Fraggle Rock, so he's a little bit older than us, he came up to us and he wasn't trying to be funny. He said, "Hey, that was really cool. That was so cool what you guys showed. Have you heard of something called Stingray?" And we were like, have we?
Well, that's the same kind of hallmark of positivity as, did you guys reshoot this or is it for the original series on Thunderbirds? Yep. I'd say so. Massive thumbs up for that. Yeah. And it does look beautiful. I've seen bits and pieces and can heartily recommend it.
Oh, so thanks, Jamie.
Listeners, go and watch Meekshi, MIIKSHI.com, and you'll get redirected from the 20th of September. Awesome.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Justin and Lindsay, we've talked for ages and I can see we've run out of time.
Yes.
We'll have to have you back.
Yes.
There's no way we can't.
Would love to.
Thank you. Yeah.
If they want to follow you in the meantime, is there a Gazelle Automations website or something like that?
There is. We are at www.gazelleautomations.com. And it's exactly how it is spelt in the Duchess assignment.
Yeah, so if you're a Thunderbirds fan, you know how to spell that.
And yes, our logo is a gazelle.
Yeah, and we've got the gazelle portrait up in our studio space, in our workshop. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, Meekshi has an Instagram and a Twitter, which is at Meekshi.
At Meekshi.
And on TikTok, it's the Hey You, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And lastly, right before we say goodbye, I need to do my Jerry Anderson Entertainment duty and say, go pick up Terror from the Stars.
Yes, and very soon Peril in Peru as well, which is out in October.
Because I've had some wonderful experiences recording those with your team. And
You've been awesome. You've been awesome.
I hope everybody, those are the new Thunderbirds audiobooks. I hope everyone's getting a kick out of them because they're super fun.
They are. The 5-star ratings are flowing in, and it's
great.
awesome. And you've done a fantastic job, so thanks for being part of those, Justin.
Thank
and many
you.
more to come.
Thank you.
Okay, there we go. We've got all the plugs in. I'll let you guys go. Thank you so much for your time. It's been awesome.
Thanks, Jamie.
Thanks, Jamie.
Bye.
Lovely, lovely people. Justin and Lindsay, thank you so much. GazelleAutomations.com is their production company website. Meekshi is on YouTube now. That's Miikshi. Meekshi.
Okay.
Go and watch it on YouTube and let us know and let them know what you think. Thank you so much, folks, for having such a long chat with me. Really enjoyed
They
it.
were nice, weren't they?
They are lovely, but it could have gone on for even longer. We had to wrap it up because of time pressures. But there we go.
Yeah.
Next week, Richard James,
Yes.
I'm bringing along an old friend of yours.
Eh? Not Lou Hirsch.
No, not Lou Hirsch. Of course not Lou Hirsch.
Love to get him on, though. Yeah,
No,
go on.
Someone else who was quite close to your character on Space Precinct.
Not Kieran Jakinis.
Not Kieran Jakinis. You've got one more
Tom
guess before I... Okay, no, forget it. No, it's Gary Martin, who was Slow-Mo.
Gary Martin. Slow-mo.
Yeah.
That's a bit Dustin Hoffman, wasn't it?
I think Gary's was only slightly better, not a huge amount,
All right.
but yeah. Anyway, Gary's here talking about all things voice artistry, how he met Dad, the things he worked on. We had a really, really lovely chat, and also Gary's voice is so soothing because it's so bassy and lovely. Cool.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
What a great chat. Anyway, I'm looking forward to that. Thanks, Gary, for having chat to me in advance, and we'll be back with him next week for the interview.
Oh, I look forward to that. That's great. Now, back over to our lovely Podstrons, of course, with some more questions for you, Jamie. Simon Morris says, a little different perhaps, but as it's nearly 30 years since BBC Two started repeating Thunderbirds, was it a surprise in the Anderson household that the series' relaunch in the early 90s was such a success in the ratings at the time, arguably triggering so much fandom since? Good question. Did it come as a surprise?
I think it was a bit of a surprise because it had repeated and aired across the decades, and it always kind of had a bit of a following, but it just the way it captured the audience, I think, was a complete surprise to everyone, really.
It really did, didn't it? It sort of caught light all over again, partly inspired perhaps by Blue Peter giving them a helping hand, do you think? With the
Oh, yes, with the 100,000 fact sheets. I mean, that was a function of Tracy Island being so difficult to get hold of and being so unavailable.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's in the interview with Mummy A, actually. She recalls the owner of a toy shop who was offered something rather special in order to get a Tracy Island. So, yes.
I mean, I'm still waiting for something rather special for my, Officer Orin on card, mint condition, but no one's offered anything. Anyway, Scott Bickley, moving on, said, will there be a 2021 Christmas jumper of Thunderbirds?
No, there's the remaining stock from 2020. The 2021 edition is Space 1999. We'll be back with another Thunderbirds one next year.
Oh, lovely, great. Hugh Porter, if we were in the 60s and you had to develop a new idea and take it to ITC, what would it be?
Oh.
Like that?
I mean, that's tough because a good idea is a good idea. It doesn't matter if it's in the 60s or not.
Yeah.
And we're currently developing, pitching, pre-producing various things which I consider to be very good ideas. So I'm not sure I can say anything, Hugh. Sorry.
Oh, well, I know what I'd take to ITC. I think it'd be a
surefire winner.
No, Beaker's Bureau.
Oh, of course. Yeah, but then they've already used Beaker. There's a Supercar spin-off series, maybe. I don't know.
Of course.
Maybe.
And finally for now, Bob Mack says, what's the future of Space 1999? Is there a chance there might be a new series or a film on the cards?
It's talked about all the time. Getting anything off the ground is really, really tricky. You know, a lot of companies are mining old IP. I mean, just so let me give you an example. I go each year to an event called Kids Screen in Miami. Wasn't this year because of COVID, but normally. The whole industry gets together, and there they estimate that between 5,000 and 10,000 projects are being pitched.
Wow.
Of those projects being pitched, 30 to 50 will get made.
Wow.
So there's a quick indicator for you, the level of difficulty with all these things. Now, despite, having a following and being known, there are limiting factors. Space 1999, the date dates it. So then what do you do? Put it to 2099? Maybe. I don't know. And then the studios and stuff will go, well, what kind of a success was this? Oh, season 2. Oh, no, that bombed. Oh, okay, let's not touch this. Anything that makes them worry about it will probably put them off. And then there have been various attempts over the years to get it financed, to get it made. I think there was a producer called Jace Hall who had the rights for some time.
Right.
I have no doubt that it has the potential, but I think the stars would have to seriously align to see it happen. I hope that's not too disappointing to hear, but I think managing expectations for this sort of thing is pretty key. Things take a really long time. The average time to get a show from development onto the screen currently is 6 to 10 years.
Right.
So
wow.
I can tell you now, as far as I know, there's nothing actively in development on Space 1999. So if you then apply a 6 to 10 year timeline to that, don't hold your breath, because 6 years is a long time to hold your breath for.
And of course, if ever it did come back, it would be open to the old charge of, what about new stories? Why are we always bringing back old things?
Exactly. I mean, in a way, you can't win. I do think there's mileage. I think it'd be very difficult to get right. And I think as such, it's probably not something that's going to happen. But if we ever hear anything to the contrary, or if we can ever help something along, then we're here to do it. We'll be the first to help and push it across the line.
Of course. And in the meantime, it lives on, refreshed via Big Finish audio.
Yeah, I was going to say, come on, we got the audio.
So
You've got all the lovely originals in HD to enjoy.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of stuff going on, and there will continue to be. So let's make the most of what we've got.
Yeah, great. So there you are, Bob. I hope that answers your question most succinctly. All for now,
Not
but
really. I've
some
rambled on.
final questions and maybe even a quickfire 5 after Chris's randomizer.
No, not a quickfire 5. Okay. Well, it's rather timely because Chris has just finished his jive routine with a rather smart cartwheel. I didn't realise Chris could cartwell, you know?
Yeah.
But he did that so elegantly.
Have you not seen him do that before?
No, never.
Oh, yeah, he's doing it all the time.
Okay.
Can't stop him.
Oh, I didn't realise. But okay, well, Chris, impressive routine. A lot of great kicks and flicks in there, and I hope one day our Podsterons get to see it. But until then, I think he should probably carry on with his normal routine of doing the randomizer, where he presses the button on the randomizer, or gets somebody else to sometimes, and then watches a random episode of, a Gerry Anderson series.
Who knows?
Obviously,
It's random.
Yes, but hopefully it will not be Torchy again.
Right.
I mean, chances are there's one less episode of Torchy now in the drawer, so fingers crossed for Chris, it won't be. But let's see.
Here's hoping.
Okay, well, here we go. Chris, over to you, fresh from your jive routine. Let's hear this week's randomizer.
Howdy do.
Howdy do.
This is my country house.
This is my randomizer.
It's rather lovely.
Oh, thank you. Do you have the printout? Well, this crumpled piece of paper informs me that today's episode is Space 1999, The Seance Spectre. So, Space 1999 didn't show up on the randomizer in time for Breakaway, but here it is, a couple of weeks late.
Earth orbit.
For the Seance Spectre.
It is now 3 weeks since we sighted the space phenomenon we call Tora.
Let's let Helena explain things for us here first.
Don't know whether it is a habitable planet, but false hopes have been raised before, and since Commander Koenig doesn't want to raise false hopes again, he has ordered the few people who are aware of the situation to keep it secret. Command Center has been put off limits to all but a few chosen personnel.
I like this idea. I like the idea that not only are the Command Center staff keeping the sort of, what's the word? Morale, that's the word I'm looking for.
Just gone, I don't understand it.
But also it lends itself to a very nice idea for a story.
Screens are all blank. We're approaching a planet. A habitable planet, I'm sure of it.
You've predicted it before.
Because this is something that this show, I think the fans of this show have often thought about, but it was never really addressed.
Why should we guess? Let's find out.
The idea that, Koenig is in charge of Alpha, okay, that's fine. He was there when the moon was blown out of orbit, okay. But now we're a few years into the journey into deep space. Is he gonna stay commander forever? Is this, this is more than just a scientific base now. This is a community, and
what do you got to me?
Is he is he just sort of commander for life, or maybe this should start to become a democracy, perhaps? So I like that this episode touches on those themes.
Show a change of position.
Doesn't really quite explore them as much as perhaps
record a source of internal energy which has caused a definite change of position.
Long-time fans might hope for. But it's nice that it's been considered.
You know Commander Koenig's orders. Command centers off limits.
Well, if those are the commander's orders, time they were changed.
And we have a black security guard who is not Quentin Pierre. He turns up later, who will also get knocked out. But meanwhile,
Supposed to be here, right?
Sanderson and his crew have let themselves into command center.
You've got on that screen.
Having overpowered the one guard.
Wait a minute, Sanderson.
I love as well how everybody reacts differently to being hit by the stun beam. Tony is thrown sideways, Maya falls forward, Sandra is also falling sideways. I also love that Maya being pushed off the desk is in time with the music. That's very classy. So yes, we have Greg Sanderson,
Like I said,
being played by Ken Hutchinson, who... Is it Hutchinson or Hutchison? Whoever he is, he passed away only about a month ago, I think. So this is a reasonably timely appearance for the Seance Spectre on the randomizer. Also along with him are... there's a chap called Stevens, who I can't remember the actor's name. He has appeared in the show before. He was Costo, an Eagle co-pilot in Space Brain. He was the co-pilot who got crushed by the Space Brain. There's Chernik, played by Nigel Pegram, and Eva, played by Carolyn Seymour, who will be a familiar name to all fans of cult and genre TV. She's done everything from, Star Trek The Next Generation and Voyager to... I think she was in Return of the Saint. She's in Remington Steele. She was also in the first series of Survivors, which I watched for the first time earlier this year and was rather impressed. And I also missed her character when she left. Anyway, that's our crew of guest characters.
Gotta get back immediately. Eagle 4 to Moonbase Alpha.
Sanderson and his gang have taken over command center and they're holding a little seance. But unfortunately, Koenig and Allen have found
and Moonbase Alpha on direct collision course.
That.
Alert! It's a habitable planet!
And that's a phrase you're going to hear a lot throughout this episode.
Planet, the prediction was right! It's a habitable planet!
To the point where, again, it's one of those catchphrases or slogans. I would like to see that on a shirt. A picture of Sanderson at his frothiest, maniacalist. Just, it's a habitable planet. Also, an interesting fact relating to the randomizer. This is the first time that that Space 1999 Series 2 has appeared on the randomizer in over a year. I suspect that is probably the longest gap between episodes from a particular show or season of a show. And you know what? The fact that nobody has been asking for it, nobody has asked why we haven't had a second season episode in over a year, is a bit revealing. But I've always said, I have a lot of time for the second season. If you just, kind of forget for a moment the first season, I look at this as a different universe, a slightly skewed take on the original concept, not necessarily a direct continuation from the first year. And in that sense, there is a lot to enjoy in the second series. And this is one of the stronger episodes from this year. So now Koenig and Allen, because of course it was them, have retaken command center. Sanderson and his crew have been led away.
She'll be fine.
Who's that? Who's going?
Auto-hypnosis.
Who's moaning on the soundtrack there?
I'm concerned it's criminal.
It's green sickness, John. You know the symptoms.
Is mutiny one of the symptoms?
Well, it could be, but I have to take responsibility.
And again, this is a nice idea as well. The idea that, a lot of the people on Alpha they never get to go down to these planets that the moon drifts past. So a lot of people are going a bit stir crazy. It's a nice gelling of little ideas that really could each be their own story. The green sickness angle, and also the idea of Koenig as essentially a dictator.
Teams are beginning to show signs. I'm going to have to limit surface exploration to 15 days maximum at a time.
And some people have said the idea that Alpha is sending out surface exploration teams. is a bit strange. I think it's quite understandable, really, that you're this lone outpost far from home, but you have essentially a whole world with you. It's why when Eagles are trashed and destroyed, and then we've got a full complement next week, I don't really mind, because I can just about believe that somewhere on this moon are the raw materials needed to make all this work. So it's
in a planet.
It's a nice idea. Again, we don't see it though.
Sanderson's habitable planet.
Well, let's hope Maya's instruments are wrong. Because if Tora's got a hard core and we're on a collision course with it, God help us.
You haven't got Victor here to set up a string of satellites or anything.
Is the Seagull prepared? Right.
We just got back.
My preliminary diagnosis is that you're suffering from a condition that we've termed green sickness. You are one of the first people assigned to Alpha, and the psychological pressures have had longer to build up.
Interesting fact there. Harry McBeardy is one of the original Alphans.
You want to marry, you want children, you feel that your life is slipping away.
And some people have said that they find Ken Hutchison's performance a bit too over the top. I think it's pitched perfectly. The character is written a bit over the top. This second series generally is occasionally over the top, so he's a nice fit.
Now, Greg.
I'm going to see Koenig.
You can't. You're confined here until further notice.
Who's confining me?
Security.
Let's see Security Force, as trained by Tony Vedesci, in action. Tony Vedesci has trained them well.
Way to command center. We couldn't stop him.
You remember Tony Vedesci as the security chief?
Sanderson. All right.
I don't think he does.
Stand where you are. Where is he? Right here.
I like that the two security guards he's just beaten up there. One is Paul Weston, who appeared infrequently throughout both seasons. The other is played by, I believe his name is Nick Hobbs, and he had previously played a security guard in Space Warp, but he had also been Clive Candor in The Bringers of Wonder, which was, I think, only part one. He gets set on fire in the records room. And that was only 2 episodes before this, so in case people might recognise him, what they've done is they've given him the biggest fake moustache they could find in their prop store. He looks very funny.
Because in a normal lifestyle, we'd make our own decision.
This is a lovely idea.
Vote. And there'd be no place for Commander Koenig's dictatorship.
The idea that there are some people who would see Koenig's command as a dictatorship and not a democracy.
Everyone on Alpha will be told.
Because it's not really a democracy.
By that, but I don't.
It's there's nothing sinister about it. It is a very benevolent command for the most part, but it is generally Koenig says jump and we jump.
All right. Every piece of...
How long could that arrangement have really lasted?
Main computer. Now that way everyone on Alpha will see what's happening as it happens step by step on their screens. Now how does that suit you?
And I'll buy.
It's one of the things I liked about the new Battlestar Galactica, actually, that you have this military command structure in charge of Galactica, but you also have civilian authorities wielding power alongside that.
For liftoff. Right, Mr. Carter? So you're beating up the guards now, huh?
What the hell is the matter with you, Sanderson?
He's sick, Tony.
There's Nick Hobbs and his amazing moustache.
Oh, I can just see clearer than the rest of you.
Oh, yeah? Well, everything you see from now on is going to be via the monitors of the restriction area. Now get him out of here.
And the other security guard actor had also been set on fire.
I want him back in medical center.
The end of License to Kill, he goes up in flames.
Okay. But I want him constantly under guard. And I mean properly this time.
Because if he's not, I'm going to write a letter to the Chief of Security. Oh, no, that's my job, isn't it? Oh dear. I love it when Tony Vedesci doesn't realise what his own job entails. Anyway, Koenig and Maya are off to investigate...
Eagle 1 to Alpha, on course for
Tora.
What we're dealing with here is an...
What we're dealing with here?
This
was a rare occasion of a flubbed line being left in the show.
In my case,
yes.
No.
The only other one I can think of, at least in a live-action show, is in the UFO episode Close Up. Ed Bishop is giving a demonstration, and he says the wrong line, but he just says, or the right line. And it's
She's in love.
Yeah, when you've got a skilled performer like Ed Bishop or Barbara Bain, I think that's the first time I've ever actually noticed that she mangled her line there. Anyway, Eva is being released from sickbay. Not sickbay, medical centre. I'm confused because it looks a bit different to how it would normally look. Medical centre in the second season, and indeed in the first season, seem to change fairly regularly.
Medical emergency. Medical emergency. Recycling plants 1 and 2. Recycling plants 1 and 2.
So there's an intercom that's never been in an Alpha corridor before.
What's happening, Helena?
I'll let you know as soon as I find out, Tony.
It's our brave security chief again. Oh, what's happening? Oh. Yeah, so a fake message has been called in by Eva. It was clearly Eva, and now the entire staff of Medical Centre have been deployed. And she has overpowered George, the security guard, played by Harry Fielder, with a little can of spray that she's sprayed him with in the face. Will she be able to get past security guard number 2, Quentin Pierre? Yep. Again, Tony Vedesci. I don't know what he's teaching his security guards, but it could be knitting for all we know.
How far in do you want to go?
Not so far in that we can't pull away at the first sign of gravitational drag.
I also liked the mention at the very start of the episode in Helena's log that they'd been watching Tora for...
Euclido approach to range 3.
Was it a few weeks or a month? I like that the second series feels, again, supported by the dates that she gives. It takes place over a number of years. I like that in some cases certain episodes feel like they're taking place over a longer period than just, a few days. Anyway, Sanderson and his crew have invaded the computer room, looking totally different from the computer room that we saw in the first season in Black Sun, but of course it would. Poor old Kano, nowhere to be seen.
First atmospheric indications. High density, high carbon dioxide content, unbreathable.
I'm getting a slight tremor here. Could be atmospheric vibration or the beginning of a gravity pull. Watch it, John.
I like as well that Command Center has now got the regular extras in there, having started out the episode with, only a few people know about this. Sanderson has said, hang on a second, this is wrong. And Koenig he hasn't verbally agreed with him, but you can see by the fact that the regular extras are back that he at least agrees with that part of his viewpoint. Not so much with this sabotage of computer, though. Which, of course, is achieved by pulling out a few trays.
Tremor's gone, Maya.
Looks like you're clear to go in as close as you like.
Yeah. Or the gravity is just gone. Go right in, have a tea party.
Zero gravity. I can't believe it. Something's wrong.
Let me switch to the onboard computer.
Maya, everyone in Alpha will think we're holding back information. We stay with main computer like I said.
Oh, again, I like that. Koenig is determined to stick with, let's share this information. Okay, we're not a dictatorship, that's fine. Some interesting angles in the Eagle cockpit here as well. I'm not so much a fan of the effect shots of the Eagle flying through fog, but the stuff on the planet that we're about to get is very nice.
Circuit 1, okay. Circuit 2, okay.
Oh, are those
lines 1 through to 10.
Sort of price displays that you would get on
Malfunction.
old-timey cash machines?
Computer malfunction.
Near Sandra's desk. I think there might have been. Well, you press anything into service as a computer on Alpha.
It's too late. Now you'll have to find that planet, Commander.
Again, having Sanderson sort of giggling evilly there, while his crew sort of look on smiling, is maybe a bit hammy, a bit too much of a villain, especially considering what's about to happen.
Commander, it's the planet.
There's a bit of noticeable ADR from Catherine Shaw there, and here we go! One of my favourite Eagle crashes in the history of the show. I think because it hits like 2 or 3 different rocks on the way down. And this does, despite the fact that I said, I'm not a big fan of the fog, this does look like a very alien world.
Moonbase Alpha to Eagle 1.
Not just alien, but inhospitable as well. The fact that it's just this yellow mist everywhere. And we get this silent shot of the Eagle crashed on the surface. I believe in this world of Tora.
Maya, you all right?
Yeah.
Get the helmets!
Where do we store the helmets now that we've removed the interior corridor, the connecting corridor on the interior set? Everything's leaking and fuming. There we go. Bit of a sticky paper over the hole. That'll soon fix that. Oh yeah, and spray foam. That was a thing they used in the first season, wasn't it? With Matthias spraying up the window.
They're both damaged.
They would be.
Let's get out of here. Seal this off.
That's the camera helmet, again seen in Bringers of Wonder, I think.
We better check the oxygen.
Oh, damaged, broken, what is it? What's the problem with the oxygen?
Our oxygen recycling plant is less than 5% effective. Insufficient to maintain life.
Oh, we've well and truly knackered another Eagle. That's the thing I like as well about Eagle crashes, is not only do they crash beautifully, everything inside breaks.
This is Command Center to Eagle 1. Are you receiving me?
It's not like on Star Trek where you get, if we can bolt this to this or make something out of this, and it's like, no, everything is screwed. Except for that one time in the Immunity Syndrome where they managed to bolt a radio onto the solar cells.
Engines and guidance systems intact.
Intact? Alan, could you pull them out of there on the remote control?
We'll give it a try.
Oh, everyone's so excited. I like this. Again, as well, I like that they only have the remote control unit on the consoles when it's actually needed. Otherwise, you don't see it.
EB, no sign of Sanderson.
Well, how about level A?
That was cleared first.
All right, we'll start again from square one. I want Sanderson found.
Tony Vedeschi, again, expert security force. Nobody seems to know what they're doing with regards to finding Sanderson. Oh, but this is nice, though.
Firing forward thrusters.
The lights coming on in the cockpit and the controls working themselves. Again, the camera moving to suggest the movement of the vehicle.
Come on, baby. Come on.
And only Nick Tate could make fiddling with a pair of very small joysticks look as intense and dramatic as he's managing to make it look here. Again, this is a first. We've crashed an Eagle, but we're actually going to be able to salvage it. I think this is unique to the show. It's the first time they've crashed an Eagle and they've been able to retrieve it, except for the ones, presumably, that bits of them may have been recovered if they were crashed near the base.
Commander, we've only got enough oxygen for 1 hour.
I know a source that can create oxygen. Vegetation.
Lift off!
I love this music as well, and the fact that one of the pods falls off the Eagle. That's lovely. It's not so convincing. Landau and Shell running up and down the Eagle to suggest being buffeted around.
But a plant needs the sun, so it can start the photosynthesis process to turn carbon dioxide into oxygen.
Or something that faces the sun, like a bright light.
And here's one of the more baffling features of the Eagle. We can turn up the lights really, really bright. Not just, this is like almost blindingly bright. I don't see the point for this, except, if you happen to have your alien shapeshifter along who needs to turn into plants and cover the passenger module. But I like as well that this Eagle is missing 2 of the leg pods, but it's also missing it's missing all but 1 landing foot. It looks really knackered and broken, and yet it still flies.
We have a damaged Eagle.
Alert rescue units.
All emergency fire and decontamination units to Eagle Hangar Bay 1.
Stretcher unit to Eagle Hangar Bay 1.
Surgical team to medical center immediately.
Nobody's asking security to do anything. They're probably, I don't know, they've got their heads stuck down the toilet or something. Lots of stock footage of people running around Alpha, though. And our amazingly broken Eagle has returned to Alpha, not only very quickly, but also, no further disasters have befallen it. This is a very nice touchdown from Alan.
Let's go.
Command center to launch area. Lower Eagle 1 to launch bay.
I adore this music as well, by the way. It doesn't quite fit the scene, but it's just, I'm always so happy to hear it turn up. It's got wonderful energy to it. I really associate it more with Space Warp and the Beta Cloud, though. Fight scenes, I think, more for this music. They don't even let it finish.
Where did all this vegetation come from?
Maya has filled the passenger module.
Maya?
It's a nice idea. Again, I don't think the science of it makes much sense, but the science of Maya doesn't really make much sense at all.
One thing about oxygen deprivation, we can tell fast if there's been brain damage.
There's always brain damage in this show, although that's a more first season thing, brain damage, but still a bit of it in the second. I also like that Alan is helping Helena with the medical stuff. The 2 medics they brought along aren't doing anything.
Oh, do you hear me?
But Alan, because he's got that medical patch on his jacket.
You know who I am.
He knows some kind of first aid. Come on, John.
Saw you before in my life. Dr. Russell.
Hey, so we're back from Tora. It's a bit of a death trap. Meanwhile, Moonbase Alpha's crack security force have finished their afternoon nap. Oh, for goodness sake, one of them has just walked straight past Sanderson and his crew. They've taken up residence in a travel tube. Again, you know, it's a nice idea that maybe we need to vote on who's going to be commander of the base. I think we should also vote on who's going to be in charge of security. Indeed, who gets to work on security, period, on this base.
While we were concentrating on you, Sanderson broke in here and sabotaged the main computer.
Again, I'm going to have words with the security chief about guarding this room.
Just move us down.
Sanderson and crew are trapped in a travel tube. No way to get to them.
Travel tube 4, Section D. Sanderson.
I would have assumed that somewhere on Alpha there's one very bored person whose sort of job it is to manage the travel tube network.
Oh, you admit there's a planet then?
It's not a habitable planet. It's just a weather belt.
Just a weather belt?
With a thick core of dust and unbreathable gas.
Sanderson, we've been on your exploration team from the beginning. You've gotten us out of some pretty tight spots.
What are you saying? He's saying what we both feel, Sanderson. He's saying out there on the moon's surface, we wouldn't think of questioning your judgment. What you say goes. Plenty of times it's the only way we've stayed alive.
It might have been nice to see, actually, some of this, some of their scrapes out on the lunar surface. It might make this feel like more of a team.
He's lying!
As it is, we have 3 good performers.
Trying to make us give up!
And 1 okay performer.
Our present course will be drawn into orbit around Tora.
But they don't really feel like they quite gel as a team.
Vast swamp of dust!
Perhaps it's because Sanderson feels more independent than...
The prediction says so!
You know, he's almost bordering on being like a messiah figure, a sort of cult leader almost. He feels more like a lone wolf than the leader of a team.
On our present course, we collide with the dust planet in 8 hours.
8 hours. Tony, is there any way we can alter Tora's trajectory?
Well, no. We just...
Oh, I like Tony's reaction there, sort of, what? I barely know how T works.
1999, the way this whole thing started. When the nuclear waste dumps blew up.
Remember that? Oh, no, you weren't there, Tony.
The atomic waste?
Ah, some of it. It's the only way. We have to create an explosion big enough to shift the moon 1 or 2 degrees off its course. Maya, give me a damage forecast and a sudden 2-degree shift.
Anticipate severe damage in all sections. High fire risk.
None of that is evident later after they've made the 2-degree course change. But again, it...
Forecast 0 survival rate.
I think if you look at it in production order, Bringers of Wonder Part 2, Lambda Factor, and then this is our second we've got a nuclear waste area that we didn't have before in 3 weeks.
Out of its present collision course.
Which is very strange because, you know, that was a huge thing in the first episode. We've blown up all the nuclear waste dumps. Oh, now we have another one. Oh, and now we have another one over here. And I think in this episode it's...
Like you trusted me before.
It's meant to be the same ones. So is Alpha creating its own nuclear waste now?
Concentrate.
Again, that's one of the things with the second series. I think trying to make it fit the first series... it doesn't always work. Here we go, we're packing.
Better take that along just to be on the safe side.
Yes, the thing that we've got to take along is a little box with a couple of knobs on it that Glenda Allen was holding there. You know, we could potentially lose the base, but if we lose that box, oh no, life is not going to be worth living.
Survive on a fleet of transporter eagles. We'll be at each other's throats.
You know, a lot of Alphans said the same thing when we split away from Earth.
John Koenig philosophy. If there are chips on the table, we're still in the game.
Right on.
Another nice idea, the thought that if Alpha is wrecked and everyone is taken to the Eagles and they have to stay there, how would that work long term? Again, that is a fascinating idea that the episode doesn't really address. And I don't feel it's because it doesn't want to address it, because none of these ideas of, you know, Alpha as a democracy and so forth have ever really come up before. I think this episode is just more concerned with, you know, doing its own thing, telling its own exciting little story. but there's some nice ideas that you do wish. Oh,
Being here when we trigger the waste dumps.
For long-term fans, maybe it wouldn't be more appealing for casual fans, but
Boarding station and be evacuated safely.
I would like to see some examination of Koenig's command as a dictatorship versus democracy, and the possibility of leaving Alpha permanently in the Eagles.
Eva, Chernik, Steven.
That seems like the sort of thing Big Finish might do. Everyone on Alpha has temporarily evacuated into the Eagles, and then suddenly the moon is gone. Oh no, how are we going to cope with
That's why we're
this?
still here.
Just suppose, for a moment, that Koenig is telling the truth about this dust planet. To save the moon base, he'll have to trigger off the atomic waste, whether we're still here or not.
I have information, Eva. I have the predictions. Chernik, Stevens.
Dr. Russell diagnoses a sickness. She says we all have it. A sickness where a wish for the green planet is so strong that our decisions are distorted.
Again, this green sickness thing is a lovely idea.
Sanderson, don't you see? We're just not sure anymore.
After all we've faced together.
All our undocumented off-screen adventures.
You talk about freedom from John Koenig's command. I say let's start now. The four of us. Let's vote on what we do.
Oh, shut up. You're dead. You don't count. You don't have a voice.
It's Koenig as the dictator, isn't it? Not you.
Again, I like that as well. I like that notion of, Sanderson essentially becoming the thing that he hates. A potential dictator within his own little group.
Those in favor of evacuation.
Stevens has got his hand up. Chernik has got his hand up. Eva has got her hand up.
Sorry, Greg.
That we have a responsibility to the others.
We just took a vote, Greg. Do you abide by it?
Koenig! We're coming out.
Yeah, Ken Hutchinson gets a lot of feedback on his performance, good and bad, I've seen. But as I said, generally, I think he deserves mostly good. Carolyn Seymour is one of those actors who you just like in everything. But I don't see Nigel Pegram get much praise for his role in this episode. I think that's the last we've seen of him now. But he's a nice, strong voice in that scene there. And speaking of nice, strong things, I'm always a sucker for stock footage of Eagles taking off, departing the base en masse.
Evacuation complete, Commander.
Yay, we did it. They've even taken some of the desks with them.
Trigger position. John, trouble.
Those must have been fun to load into the Eagles.
Anderson's missing. He's still down there, somewhere on moon base.
Oh dear. If only we had a security force who could keep an eye on these things. Ooh. Stun blast there from Sanderson has thrown Koenig across the room.
Sanderson, listen to me. There are 2 hours, 20 minutes to collision point.
To orbit, understand? And then we use the transporters to transfer everyone to the new planet.
We'll be swallowed by red dust and toxic gases.
This is also an episode that I feel could have worked in the first season.
There's no time, Tony. Stay where you are.
I think that's the hallmark of a good Space 1999 story, is if you can imagine it fitting in the opposite season to the one it appears in. So, Sanderson has got Maya and Koenig hostage in command center. Everyone else is out on the Eagles.
I want to know the moment we go into orbit.
Koenig no longer appears to have a gun. Oh no, he does have a gun. Why isn't Maya grabbing it and using it?
If Taurus atmosphere gets into our recycling system, our air will be lethal.
I love that Sanderson is holding the gun with both hands.
Fresh. Pure.
I don't recall seeing anyone else using it that way. Again, it adds to the kind of mania of the man. And Eva is co-piloting with Alan.
Put the gun away, Greg.
If you're interested, Tony's Eagle, Sandra is co-piloting with Tony, and they've got Helena on board as well.
Chernik, Stevens, all of us.
You'll thank.
But it's nice as well to look at that shot of all the Eagles and think, oh, somewhere out there is Fraser and Yasko and Vincent and Spencer and Alib and Petrov and all the rest of them.
Dr. Russell is right. It's an hallucination. A mirage.
Interesting effect there that Carolyn Seymour's head, she's looking at a different angle depending on what angle we're seeing the television screen at.
He has to keep us on this barren rock.
You're wrong, Greg. It's all in your mind. Greg, please do what the commander wants. Before all this happened, you believed in him. Believe in him now.
Believe in him? I've never believed in him.
I think the show could have done more, I think not only with this character, but similar characters. The idea that everybody, all 300 odd people on Alpha, are 100% gung-ho behind Koenig and his ideas. It's just not that believable. Especially in situations where, we found a new planet. Who's going to go down to investigate? Tony, Alan, Maya, the usual. And there's 280 odd people on Alpha who never get a look in. They must be getting frustrated. They must be getting cross. They must not want to be thrown across Command Center by a dinosaur monster. That's what Maya's turned herself into.
Maya, get the gun.
A brand new monster. Well, it's a new monster head on top of the old hairy monster body.
Why didn't you fire?
Couldn't. It was jammed on kill.
Why didn't you fire, Koenig? Where's your gun gone?
We've got less than 2 hours to set the atomic trigger. Let's go.
Because surely there is no chance of us finding Sanderson.
Well, there they are. The old nuclear waste silos.
The old nuclear waste silos. That takes me back to the time when they were blown to pieces.
We'll have to blast one of those concrete caps away so we can lower the atomic trigger.
Again, unless Alpha is producing their own nuclear waste, I can't see this fitting with the chronology of the first season. When we had 2 nuclear waste disposal areas, and that seemed to be it. Anyway, Tony and Helena and Sandra, they think they've seen something on the surface, but the model shot doesn't really show us anything.
What is that thing?
What thing?
I don't know. We're not close enough.
Or magnify, damn it.
I am trying.
I like it when Sandra gets cross with people. Yeah, I think we're supposed to be able to see something there, and we kind of can't. There's the vaguest suggestion, I think, of sort of tracks.
It's a moon buggy.
That's Sanderson. John? Sanderson's down there waiting for you.
Scanners indicate that he is amongst the rocks, but I cannot pinpoint him from here.
Proof, if you ever needed it, that moon buggies can move faster than eagles. Evidently.
Sanderson is down there.
I know that.
Alan's just itching for a fight. He wants to have a fight, he wants to tear his shirt, he wants to do something heroic.
Is that going to give you enough time?
That's all the time we've got.
But sorry, Alan, Koenig is the only one who gets to be a hero this week. He's donning the
to attach this device,
the silver spacesuit for the really important missions.
12 minutes at full thrust to blast ourselves as far away from here as we can get.
And attach a great big explosive to
Good luck.
The nuclear waste silo. It's an anti-radiation helmet. I know because it says so on the helmet. And I'm sure I'm not alone in this, but as a kid I always wondered how the spacewalk sequences were achieved. I don't know if we're about to see any of them here, particularly, as Koenig... Oh, see there on Blu-ray, you can see the edge of a trampoline that you wouldn't have seen on SD and VHS and old broadcasts back in the day.
Right, Commander. We have no visual of Sanderson. Continuing to scan.
Eagle 3 calling Eagle 6. Any movement in Area 3, Alan? Eagle 6. Nothing so far, Tony. We'll continue search.
Any other Eagles want to pitch in here? Yasko, how's it looking from where you are? Again, another reason for Koenig to be wearing the silver spacesuit, which I believe is from Brian the Brain, is Sanderson's in the orange spacesuit. We can't really have a fight... well, we can have a fight with 2 people wearing the same colour spacesuits. We've done it before, but it's easier if they're wearing different colours.
All clear, Tony.
We must be coming to the end of the episode. The music has changed very abruptly into either everything's about to blow up or we're going to have a big fight. Or possibly both music. I love the second series score. I know a lot of people don't, and I can understand that. But, I love it. It is a bit more of its time than the Barry Gray stuff, but there's some really nice melodies in here. Sanderson's lining up to shoot Koenig. Koenig has placed his explosive charge. Oh, and Maya tried to take him out with the Eagle cannons. Well, she succeeded, but not before he hit her.
Maya? Maya, can you hear me?
He's thrown her back behind the co-pilot's chair.
I've lost contact with Maya.
Oh, we've blown the cap on the explosive silo.
Into the atomic trigger now.
Oh, we've still got to do that, haven't we? Right, yeah.
Watch Sanderson. He's still dangerous.
Okay. Yeah, danger, nuclear waste area. There's a sign there clearly saying it. This isn't nuclear waste area 1. It isn't nuclear waste area 2. I'm sure Breakaway, it didn't say that there weren't more than 2, but it highly suggested that there were only 2. And, Sanderson, having lost his gun, he's now reduced to lobbing big rocks in Koenig's direction. And again, I think the slow motion makes this all a bit more exciting than it would be normally. Again, a hidden use of a trampoline there, and this time we didn't see it. Oh no! Sanderson got hold of Koenig and he shoved him. How's our hero going to get out of this one?
Maya, it's Tony. Can you hear me? What's the damage?
Whoa! Koenig's given Sanderson a proper somersault throw there.
Come in, please.
Oh, he's even knocked Sanderson's helmet visor open. But that's not going to kill him. That never kills anyone in this show. Again, more hidden trampoline stuff as Koenig bounces back to the silo. I like as well that he's generally more focused on just getting the charge into the silo than he is on his own safety. Because here comes Sanderson. Oh, kicked him into it. And again, yeah, this silo seems to be a bottomless pit, unlike some of the ones seen in Breakaway. Koenig is now hanging by his fingertips. Sanderson is giving them a good stepping on. And I'm not sure I'm all on board with how Sanderson is dispatched here. Because, Koenig essentially has to kill him. That's it, there he goes. Yeah, he's pulled him into the silo. Yeah, you get the impression there that it is a bottomless pit. I know they were in a fight to the death. I know it was one man or the other, but it never feels right to me. The idea of Koenig having to kill one of his own people. And that is basically what he did there. If this ending had been worked more as Sanderson accidentally blowing himself up, maybe Koenig sets the charge and goes back to the Eagle, and Sanderson comes rushing in to stop it and gets blown up, caught in the explosion at the last minute. But for Koenig to actually be the one who kills him,
Eagle 2, come in, please.
I don't know. Anyway, he's back on the Eagle. Well, at least someone wearing Koenig's spacesuit is back on the Eagle. I don't think that was Martin Landau.
Maya!
Oh dear. Again, I don't think this quite works either. Maya is stuck behind the door. Unconscious for a very long time.
I'm trapped!
She's stuck behind a chair that we know can extend forward with the slightest touch of a lever, so...
4.5 minutes, Maya!
Yeah.
I can't reach the controls!
And the fact as well that it's Maya. We know she can turn into anything. We know this is not a problem. She should have instantly gone, oh yeah, I can do what I'm about to do now, and saved us 30 seconds. She's turned into a little girl. But again, these seats, they do move forward. We've seen it happen multiple times. Why can't she move it forward by herself? So, little girl Maya has opened the door to let Koenig in. See, she's just done it. Koenig and Maya have come back into the cockpit. They've both sat down and they have both moved the chairs forward with remarkable ease. What was stopping her from doing that before? Oh, I'm starting to rag on this episode, and I don't want to, because this is a very well directed finale. The music is doing a lot, the actors are doing a lot, and we're nearly there. That's it. We have created another breakaway effect. Somehow. It was a good job we had that nuclear waste silo on hand. And they say such explosions are bad things on Earth. These kind of huge explosions, they never do anything but good for Alpha. And that's it. The moon is no longer on a collision course.
The moon has changed course.
Yay.
We're no longer on collision course with Tora.
And all those fires and massive damage, well, if it happened, fixed off screen. And here we are with a slightly strange ending for this episode. Because the actor playing Stevens looks a lot like one of the regular extras on the show. I don't know the extra's name, but they're both in this scene, in this one shot together. Chernig and Eva and Stevens are among several Alphans being shown pictures of, well, what looks mostly like Black Park.
Looks good.
This will cure their green sickness.
Doctor, how much longer?
At least another hour and a half.
This is the shot. There's an actor who is the exact double of Stevens, and it doesn't help that both men are in the reconnaissance section, as you can see from their orange collars, and they're wearing red jackets.
You think your system will work?
Principle's perfectly valid. Saturation equals boredom.
Well, it figures he's showing trees, meadows, and streams until I can't stand another blade of grass, right?
I don't think it works that way. Again, it's nice that the show raised the idea of, green sickness, as they call it. I think the way they resolve it, this is never going to be a problem anymore. We'll just show people pictures of fields. If anything, if I was on Alpha and I was feeling, homesick and I wanted to walk through green fields and anything, that would make me want it more. Anyway, we're ending on shots of Tony and Alan admiring, among others, Caroline Munro, because evidently Alpha left orbit with a lot of glamour model shots in its database. Either that or that's someone's personal collection that's been uploaded for use around the base, and that was the Seance Spectre. And that is one of my favourite episodes of the second season. I do believe that is one of the stronger episodes overall. Some lovely guest performances. Again, Mr. Hutchison, Mr. Ken Hutchison, who sadly is no longer with us, sometimes comes in for a bit of stick on this one, but I think he's done us quite well here with his performance as Sanderson.
Wow.
Oh, well, funny we'd be talking about Space 1999 and then it comes up on the randomizer.
Couple of weeks too late, though, if you don't mind me saying, but I suppose it is random.
Yes, it is random, but at least we were talking about it as in reboots.
Yes,
So,
yes, that's
funny.
true. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, Chris. Chris will be back next week. Maybe he'll be doing the Charleston next week. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see.
Maybe he will. Yeah. In the meantime, back to our lovely listeners, the Podstrons, who have questions to ask Jamie. Farashimbo says, when is Supercar Day?
I don't. Never.
That stumped you. Is there such a thing?
I don't think there's enough of a call for Supercar Day. I'm really sorry to say. I mean, you could say it's when the Blu-ray is released, which is middle of November, I think. I can't remember when. Quite soon, anyway.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Oh, hang on.
You could always.
No, Supercar's already out. I'm thinking Fireball.
You've mentioned it already. Yeah, that's right.
Well, it's when
and
you've got
always
your Blu-ray.
have your own Supercar Day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good luck.
No one's stopping you. Tom Woods asks, why don't penguins' feet freeze? Again, I think he's got the
that's
wrong
a
end of the stick,
great.
but do go on.
It's a great New Scientist book there, which is a collection of things. It's What Eats Wasps and Why Don't Penguins' Feet Freeze, the two volumes, and I do have copies of them, but I can't remember why their feet don't freeze. I'm sure it's to do with blood vessels and the material of their feet.
Will you find out and let us know next week?
I'll definitely find out, I assure you.
Great. I'll hold you to that. Neil Holloway says, can we tie Jamie to a chair and make him watch every episode of Joe 90?
Why would you say such a thing? What have I done to you? Seriously, I mean, goodness me.
Stephen Carson asks, any plans for Thunderbirds Day at the end of the month?
Yes, we've already mentioned it.
That's right.
Yes, in just a few days' time, you can listen to the audio. We've got the Thunderbirds Day t-shirts. We're announcing The Thing, which I may have already talked about elsewhere, but I don't want to preempt it just in case, for the 16th of April next year.
Yep.
There's be some other stuff too. So yes, and yes.
Great. And finally, Jamie, it's the moment we've all been waiting for. Yes, I promised it earlier. It's Simon Allen's Quickfire 5. Now, are you ready for these, Jamie? Are you sitting tightly, securely, strapped in and ready?
Can hardly contain myself.
Here we go. Quickfire 5 from Simon Allen. Yeah. Torchy or Joe 90?
Oh, what?
Oh, he's being cruel.
Joe 90, just.
Bossy Boots or Joe 90?
Oh, come on.
Oh.
Joe 90.
Oink or Joe 90?
Oink.
Oh, Zuni. Or Joe 90?
Zuni.
Oh, and finally from Simon, Joe 90 or Jamie 90?
Well, obviously, Jamie 90 would be much more interesting.
You see, that wasn't so bad, was it? A quick 5 from Simon Allen. Thank you very much, Simon, who said he'd love to hear Jamie's responses. Well, there you are.
He could have been much more cruel with those middle two.
He really could.
But yes, thank you so much, Simon. What a great pleasure to make those choices.
Yes, there you are. Jamie 90 sounds interesting. What an idea for a concept for a show. A man in his early to mid-30s has his brainwaves replaced by those of a sci-fi nerd, a Jerry Anderson freak.
And then creeps around Doctor Who conventions dressed as the Watcher. Yeah.
There you go.
Okay.
There's
done.
a concept.
Right, well, I'm going to live it in real life, obviously.
Of course you
Oh, how peculiar. Well, thank you, Podsterons, for all of your amazing contributions and questions and stuff. I hope I've given some elucidatory answers. I don't know if that's a word, but it sounded cool.
Hallucinatory, did you say?
No, I didn't say that, but thank you. It's been a great pleasure, and what a great format change, Richard. Very thoughtful of you to do that.
Just for this week. There you go.
Yeah, can we go back to normal next week, though? I'm a bit tired now.
I think we should. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I understand.
Well, once again, we've got no disturbance from my puppy, Winnie. Isn't that
What a disappointment.
peculiar? I know, she's just slept through right again. What a good girl.
Yes, that bodes well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But hopefully one week you'll hear a contribution from her, because she is absolutely lovely. Sorry to go on about her, but I can't help. It's cuteness overload here. Right, is that it? Are we done?
Yep, that's all for now. Let's wrap it up and send them on their way.
Okay, fine. Well, please make sure you're subscribed and do write us a review. We do love a good review. In fact, I think we should do some reviews in the post-credits banter this week, which is so I'm going to
look forward to.
I'm going to prepare for those and flick ahead. Do you want to say any further farewells, or should we just go away now?
No, I think we should just go away and leave them to it.
Oh, all right. Well, in that case, have a great week, Podstron. It's been great spending time with you. We hope you've enjoyed your time with us, and we'll see you next week in Pod 173.
See you then.
Farewell.
Stage 1 complete.
Let's go.
Spectrum is green.
Right, it's always a risk saying I'm going to look at
it is a
reviews,
bit, isn't it? Yes,
because then sometimes.
Now, where do you read them from, Jamie? Where are you going to find them?
I'm going on to Apple Podcasts, but actually,
yes, because of course there are other providers available.
There are, but I fear there are no new ones.
What? We put a call out every week for reviews.
No, not a single new one.
How disappointing! When was the last review left?
July.
Well, we're at the end of September. Does that mean we have no new listeners, or no new listeners that like the show enough to leave a review?
Nobody likes the show. That's all I can take from this one. But instead, how about we head over to Chris Dale's Randomizer podcast and have a review from there?
Oh, that's a good idea.
This review is a 5-star review and is headed, "Not Enough Torchy the Battery Boy." It's from David G, 1983. David says, "More seriously, this is such a fun podcast, and if you're a fan of the worlds of Jerry Anderson, it's not afraid to be honest in how good or not the episodes are, and it's always entertaining. It's been so much fun, and it makes me want to watch All That Glitters again to remind myself of the experience."
Oh, that's nice.
There we go. And there's one more here from John Boy, 1962. It's a 5-star again. Chris Dale, one of the 3 amigos, is the headline here.
Yes, he is.
He says, along with Jamie and Richard, Chris is one of the vital components in the Fab Jerry Anderson podcast. His pithy, detailed and unbiased commentaries on randomly selected GA episodes are a highlight of every week. There you go.
Well, you see, that's nice, because it's kind of a review for us as well.
Sort of. It says something pleasant about us, which is which is rather nice.
Which is rare.
Thank you. There you go, Chris. Well done, you. Oh, he's off dancing again. Bye. Dancing straight out the door. Okay, Dickie. Well, let's hope for some more reviews next week, because otherwise we'll be feeling a bit sorry for ourselves, won't we?
Yeah, that'd be a shame, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll go and write you a personal review about how brilliant you are on Google. Something like
great.
that.
Well, I look forward to that. Good. Thanks.
All right, I'll get practicing. And see you next week, 5-star Dickie.
Okay. Yeah, see you then.
Bye.
Bye.
You have been listening to the Jerry Anderson Podcast. Wasn't it fun?
You have been listening to an Anderson Entertainment production.